What next for the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto after the explosive Rashid Echesa saga? Because let's face it, this saga has dented the image of the Deputy President, not only in Kenya, but also internationally. And not because the Deputy President is involved in it directly. No, it's because of two things. Number one, this whole game was executed right inside his office. And number two, the main suspect in the case is one of his close allies. And this can be confirmed because there's no way the Deputy President would have chosen Rashid Echesa as the best from Central Kenya. But he opted for him, which means he's a guy he had trust and confidence in. And because his image is at stake here, and I'm sure this issue is likely to take a political angle in the next few days, what can he do? I've seen today his allies have organized some paid demonstrations around standard media in Nairobi. And I'm like, what are these guys doing? Do they really understand what they are engaging in? Because what the Standard and the Daily Nations have been doing, they've just been highlighting what really happened. But what can he do? In my view, the Deputy President has these 5 options, which he must do immediately. Number one, the first thing he must do is to do a complete overhaul of his office. That's the first thing he must do. Because we know in politics, there's what is called perception. Perception is basically politics. And currently, if you ask anybody in this country, there's a perception that the Deputy President is corrupt and that his office is the headquarters of conmen in this country. And why is that happening? It's because there are some elements in his office, whether the sweeper or some junior officers there or some people up there who are abetting the vices. So the only option for him is to overhaul that office. He can even sacrifice some people who are being accused. He can decide to sacrifice them. Because in politics, sometimes someone must take the bullet. Let me name for you 3 people whose names are being mentioned. They are mentioning Osinde, who is the chief of staff. They are mentioning Farouk Kibet, who is the personal assistant. And they are also mentioning Maio. He can sacrifice either of those. They can agree. And they can be given different jobs. Because as things stand today, those 3 guys might be innocent. They might not have known anything to do with this scandal. But as long as they'll still be there, that perception that the office is aiding the vice will still be there. And you know, I'm talking of a specific individual amongst those 3 guys. So the Deputy President must sacrifice that person. That's number 1. Number 2, the Deputy President must invest in a serious communications team. He must borrow a leaf from President Uhuru Kenyatta. How Uhuru Kenyatta, and probably with him, managed to run a serious communication campaign in the last election, both dirty and clean ones. But what he needs now, he needs a communications team which are able to relay his information. Look at the kind of tweets which have been coming from the Deputy President's office. I know you might be copying Donald Trump, but can it work here? I want to just go refer, because I was reading some article here on the Nation by Gaido yesterday. He's saying DP would do well to jettison tainted hang-ons. So, and he's saying here how the DP would have framed his statement. I hope you read the DP's statement yesterday. He's saying the DP would have communicated this way. I am shocked and dismayed to learn that persons, some of them known to me, gain access to my office in furtherance of insidious fraud involving fake military tenders worth 40 million. The DCI must be commended for the swift action that resulted in the arrest of the suspect. I argue the police to move with equal haste to arrest all the co-conspirators who may be at large and ensure that all of them face the full force of the law. I hereby direct that any of my office staff who may have been involved with the fraudsters, including facilitating entry to Harambee House Annex office complex and use of facilities therein, stand suspended forthwith. You see, if the DP had issued such kind of communications and consistently from the time this kind of thing started, in my view, it would have been good for him. But the current scenario where it's depending on Dennis Itumbi, is depending on Mugonyi, I think those guys have failed the DP big time. So the deputy president can return them and task them with dealing with bloggers online. But his official communications should not be handled by a different team, even if it means outsourcing a communications expert services to deal with some of these emerging issues. Because the way he's treating today is not the right one. These guys are always reactionary. They're always just responding in a very funny way. See how they were reacting to Ngilo. See how they've been reacting to this thing at your paid propaganda, political what. You don't do that. Number three, the third thing he must do. William Samoei Ruto must get competent advisors. I once asked people here, is there anyone of you who knows or who can pinpoint to me that so and so is an advisor to the deputy president? Who can pinpoint to me? We have several professors who would be willing to be his advisors. Honest ones. And I always like giving people the example of Raila Odinga, especially during the last election. He had people like David Ndi. He had Professor, there are several, there were around 7. Adam Solo, there were 7. So every Thursday, these guys were meeting at Capitol Hill. And that's why Raila Odinga, between that time up to the election time, even if it was responding to Eurobond, responding to the state of economy, responding to anything, they were kind of very detailed information. And you see, if the difference between Ruto now and Raila, for example, if the two were to issue a statement, Raila's statement will always be very thorough because of one man called Dennis Onyango. Very thorough. And it's only possible because they have a team they work with. So the DP must get serious advisors if he intends to run for the presidency in 2022. Number 4. The fourth thing he must do is that the deputy president now needs to get experienced politicians around him. He must do away with these excited young boys who don't even know where the country is coming from and where the country is headed to. Take, for example, Oscar Sudi. If you take Oscar Sudi and you take Sally Kosgei, because the DP can decide to make Sally Kosgei a member of parliament, or he can decide to make her a senator. If you take Oscar Sudi and Sally Kosgei, who would add value to the DP? He needs the young people, and he also needs experience. There are certain situations like now which need experienced politicians. People who have been in government, people who have seen it all, people who can even reach out to the other side. Not the excited guys like Nditi Nyoro, Susan Kihika of this world. At least Wahome is experienced, but I don't know what's wrong with her. Yeah? So who are the experienced politicians around the deputy president? Those are the questions. So you must get experienced politicians around him. Number 5, the DP must start dumping these dirty politicians in quote around him. He must not appear to be very desperate. He need to take stock of the people around him. They can be his friends, but not making public appearances. There's a picture which keeps on circulating online. I think his last event in Kisii. The person who was sitting next to William Ruto was Zahir Janda, the mastermind of the gold scam. Next there was Don Bosco Gichana. Don Bosco was jailed in TZ and was just helped the other day to get out of jail. So as much as those people are supporting him, what stopped the DP from allowing 2 other guys this side and 2 other guys this side, and then these guys can even sit in the second row, or even the third, or after sitting 2 people this side on the right, then these guys can sit the other side. He chose to make sure that he chose and made sure that these 2 individuals were just right immediately after him. He's portraying an image of a guy who is desperate for these politicians. If I may ask you, what was the point of William Ruto appointing Rashid Echesa, of all the people, to the cabinet, if he could still do some of these things with him when he was outside the government? Look what Uhuru did to him. After kicking out Rashid Echesa, and today Jacoyo said something, gave the reason why this guy was kicked out. After kicking out Rashid Echesa, Uhuru went and appointed George Magoha, professor. What message was he telling Ruto? That as much as you are giving me this guy, we had better options. And when Magoha was appointed and the vetting was going in parliament, Junet Mohammed stated clearly that if the House vetted and passed the name of Rashid Echesa, there was no need for them even to debate on the name of George Magoha. So the DP must take his time and now start dumping some of these guys, because there are so many around him. They are known in these cities and these streets. Today, if you meet any conman in town, they'll always tell you, oh, I'm connected in the DP's office. You know, that's what they tell people here, because they're being entertained in that office. So the DP must decide and start dumping them. Because you know what these guys do? This is how they operate, these smart guys. What they do, they look for photo opportunity with these key politicians. Like if they want something from Uhuru, so they make sure that if Uhuru has an event somewhere, they can find their way around and take a photo with Uhuru Kenyatta. And that photo is enough for them to scam people. So the DP must now start doing away with these people. The confidence Rashid had in that office, to an extent, is entering the office straight to the VIP lift, straight there. You know, that kind of confidence, these guys must now have restricted access to the DP. And lastly, which I think is also very important, I talked of 5 reasons, but I've thought of the 6th one. The DP must use what is called, he must use absence to increase respect and honor. Use absence to increase respect and honor. That's law number 16 of the 48 laws of power. And it is very clear that the DP is not too much. He's been seen enough. So I was just trying to get that 48 laws of power. It's saying too much circulation makes the price go down. The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. If you are already established in a group, temporary withdrawal from it makes you more talked about, even more admired. You must learn when to live, create value through scarcity. That's what the DP needs to do. Who doesn't know William Ruto today? Who doesn't know that the deputy president is planning to contest for the presidency in 2022? Why is he out there every single day? Why must the deputy president go to central Kenya every single weekend? Why must he go to those churches every single day? People will get used to him. So he must increase absence. He must use absence to increase respect and honor. I want to give you a typical example. When Raila Odinga was facing enough in this country, and many people had written him off, what did he do? Raila Odinga took the next available flight to Boston. And Raila Odinga stayed in Boston for 3 months. 3 good months. Not talking about Kenyan politics. As a matter of fact, that time they said he was going for some lectures. So what happened when he was now coming back? When he announced that I'm coming back? It gave birth to what was then referred to as Baba while you're away. And that's what reinvented Raila Odinga. So the DP must also, from today, decide to use absence to increase respect. Because there's nothing he's doing publicly. Ruto is not a new politician who wants to be introduced to the people. He campaigned with Uhuru Kenyatta. He was a minister for agriculture. So he campaigned with Uhuru Kenyatta so he's a known figure. He doesn't need to attend every single event there. He can be sending people. If he's expected in Embu, let him send someone. If he's supposed to go and open those, I saw him opening some toilets somewhere. He doesn't need to go there physically. Those people can expect him to go there. Then he sends somebody. I don't know what you think. But I think if the DP will mismanage this whole issue, then his image is going to be dented nationally and internationally. Thank you guys. And if you're bumping on this video for the first time, I want you to take a second or two and just hit the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, you get notified. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Thank you, and please, may you have a good day. Bye-bye.